Hey everyone, welcome to Newbies to Movies. I'm Tyler.
And I'm Justin.
This is a podcast where we like to talk about new movies that we're watching, with this week's theme being family stories. But before we get into that, this is our 1 year anniversary of the episode starting. So a 52nd episode, counting for each of the weeks in the year. Kind of a big milestone for us because when we first started this, we were really just, both of us really liked movies. And we're like, well, we kind of want to expand talking about them, but also expand and get out of our comfort zone. I think this was one of the bigger point of the podcast was to be able to critically talk about these films that we always really like, but also expand our knowledge of them and get out of our comfort zone from watching the same old movies that we're comfortable with watching and watching stuff that have surprised us, and even like actors, genres, and directors that we normally wouldn't try to reach out to. Justin, you want to talk a little bit about it?
Yeah. First off, I'm on vacation. That's why I got this giant sea turtle behind me. But yeah, since I am on vacation, me and Matt were talking about it a little bit this weekend. I went back and listened to some of our first recordings, and God, was it bad. Like, our conversations have gotten so much better. But also, I was looking back to the stuff I used to watch and looking at the list of 103 movies that we've watched on the show. It kind of amazes me how much we've expanded out of our comfort zone and how much I've learned in the meantime as well. And I got to say, it's ironic you pick family stories because I wouldn't want to do this with anybody else but my brother like you. So I appreciate you always pushing me forward and expanding my comfort zone. It's been amazing doing this.
Yeah, I've had a really great time because I've always wanted an avenue to like be able to talk about like one of my biggest passions, which is film in the first place, watching it, and then now being able to talk about it critically. And hopefully we come back in another year and it's our 2 year anniversary and we can talk about it and how much we've grown from this point. Because yeah, like you said, the first couple episodes, we were kind of just throwing stuff at a wall and hoping it stuck. And then now I think we can critically talk about different parts to these themes a lot better.
Yeah, that and everything's so natural now. I felt like at the beginning we were doing homework, trying to get these things out, but now it's just like we can kind of hop on here with limited notes. I know you've never really used notes, but I come on here with limited notes now. It's like a fun process rather than, a grind.
Yeah.
Cool. So I'm going to share some stats too I put together just because I was chilling on the beach yesterday and decided to go through some stuff. So overall, the podcast, we filmed 52 hours, 29 minutes, and 9 seconds of podcast hours, I guess. Pretty crazy to think about. We've sat down in the last year for 52 hours and just talked about movies.
Yeah.
We've had 829 downloads, which hope that goes up, and then 61 countries and 172 cities, which is pretty nuts. I attribute a lot of that to probably your friends spread across the world.
Yeah.
But still really neat. We've also watched 217 hours and 29 minutes of movies for the podcast, which is, again, pretty nuts. Kind of tells you how much we've been expanding. And then any guesses on our top directors? I know a couple episodes we did directors specifically, but any idea who our number one would be?
I think it's Denis Villeneuve.
Yeah, Denis was 1. Nolan was 2, Tarantino 3. Tarantino's definitely up there because, we did the part 1 and part 2 with Nathan.
Yeah.
David Fincher, Martin Scorsese, Spielberg, and Paul Thomas Anderson were up there as well.
Yeah.
Any guess on the actor or actress?
This one is, I think, a little bit harder.
It shocked me.
Actor? Man, I'm trying to think. Dude, I have no idea. Actress? Maybe Amy Adams?
Yeah, that's not a bad guess. It was Meryl Streep with 5 movies.
Wow.
And then
I guess Devil Wears Prada too, yeah.
Yeah, and then we did her the 1 week, so that's 2. And then we also had her in Little Women. I'm counting this week as well.
Yeah.
And then, Matthew McConaughey with 4, Robert De Niro with 4, Ryan Gosling with 4. Another sneaky one, Willem Dafoe with 4. I think he just kind of was showing up in movies that we were watching.
It wasn't like he was the lead.
Yeah. Our top genre was drama with 37. I mean, you can kind of label drama in a lot of films, but thriller and crime with 28, comedy with 16, sci-fi fantasy with 13, horror with 10. I don't know how you got me to do that.
Yeah.
And then romance with 8, but just some fun stats I thought were kind of cool. Just looking back.
Yeah. I feel like in the future, probably maybe going a little bit more romance, maybe, because I feel like there's a lot of romantic films out there that are like more dramatized that we haven't reached out to. Maybe a little bit more action as well, because I feel like that's like a genre that we haven't really touched as much.
That's a
Yeah,
tough one though too, because a lot of these action movies are just blockbusters that we can't really dive that deep into. I mean, there is good
yeah,
action movies, don't get me wrong, but sometimes it's kind of like just surface level stuff.
yeah, exactly. Quick pause, real quick.
You're good.
Is yours having a time running?
Yeah,
Okay, mine isn't, so I was just making sure.
yeah, it's good.
Okay. Okay, we'll just resume then. Yeah, so another thing that I just wanted to bring up was like, I think in this next year, now that we're more experienced at talking more critically about it, and my plan is when I get more time, is to try to reach out and do a little bit more collaborations with possibly
Hmm.
other podcasts. And then as well as Justin did a really cool podcast with a director. And I think that would be really cool to try to reach out to actors, actresses, directors, or really anybody in the film industry in the first place. Like, doesn't even need to be like director or actor. It could be like could be like a producer, camera worker, anything. I think just getting different perspectives would be such a cool thing.
Really cool. And I wouldn't trade that experience for the world. That was so neat to be able to sit down with somebody, a small filmmaker, and kind of just understand a little bit more about the process. Funny enough, it was like a real pain scheduling it. And it kind of just worked out to where she emailed me at like 5:30 on a Sunday night. It was like, "Hey, can you do in 30 minutes?" And I was like, "Yes." And then I just like threw some clothes on. I was in my
Yeah.
pool. I threw some clothes on and just ran and got ready. But funny stuff just kind of works out like that. So I hope to do more like that in the future. I want to say thank you to all of the guests we've had on throughout the year too. Really couldn't have done it without you guys, especially with Tyler having to be out some weeks. That would have left me in a tight spot just talking to myself in a camera.
Yeah. Yeah. That's not really podcasting at that point. That's just talking to a recording.
But it was so fun to have even just people who aren't film analysts on and seeing their outside perspective, especially because I felt like watching so many movies, I got stuck in my ways at some points. So bringing in those extra perspectives were really amazing. So thank you to everybody.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you for sure. I think another cool thing that we've been talking about, just texting about, but would be cool to do in the next year would be like a film festival and to record like while there as like a vacation.
Mhm.
There's a bunch of film festivals, even a small one I think would be cool to go to because I feel like the smaller ones we could have those interactions with like little time directors, actors, and other like film industry workers. So yeah, hopefully that's in the plans as well.
For sure.
Awesome. So we'll get right into like how we usually start with what have you been watching this week? If you want to go, Justin.
Yeah. Yeah. So been on vacation, been on the beach a lot. Haven't really had time to watch a ton of new movies. I did rewatch Project Hail Mary. Paige, my sister, was bashing it a little bit too much for my liking, so I had to go back and get some ammo. Still good, still amazing. I really like that movie. And then I've been keeping up a lot on Twitter with San Diego Comic-Con going on. Marvel should have their Hall H announcements here in the next hour or two. Like Tyler and me were talking about before the show, take it with a grain of salt because they're going to have a plan for the next 20 years, and who knows if that stuff will actually work out.
Yeah.
That came out. One of the really cool ones I really liked was the Clayface trailer and the Green Lantern trailer. Those got me all the way back excited into DC after Supergirl.
Yeah.
It wasn't too excited for anything coming, but it seems like they're hitting some really good points, which should be fun.
Yeah. Clayface seems like a really original take or like a really original like film idea about like pretty much just the comic book type of movies, like very much like Hellboy, Blade kind of time, early 2000s, where it feels a horror type, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm interested to see how they take that turn on it, really, compared to where Supergirl and Superman were very just enthusiastic, happy, and total 180, it looks like.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we haven't recorded in like 2 weeks, so I have a lot of films. I'm just going to talk about 4.5 or up for me that I watched, and and as well as one of the newer ones. One of the big ones to talk about is The Odyssey. I was able to watch it, not in the best setting, I would say, because I think this is a movie that you need to be able to watch in the theaters. And I will rewatch it when I have a chance to watch in the theaters. But after watching it, I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. I enjoyed it. Thought it was good. I just have a little problems with some of the dialogue and plot points in it, but I think it's a good movie. But I think I'm a little bit lower on it than a lot of what other reviews that I've seen out there. Yeah. And his other movie, I think, is a little lower for me. So 4.5 higher. So I watched Dog Day Afternoon today with Al Pacino. Great. Great movie. It's about a bank robbery that just goes wrong right at the beginning, and it's based on a true story. And Al Pacino has one of the best performances I've seen in any movie ever. And I was like, holy crap! Like I get it. Like I know we did a week on him, just him. After that, I was like, holy crap! Like I get the hype about him now even more. Like what a great actor he is in that movie. I watched The Hunt. That is a Denmark film with Mads Mikkelsen where he gets accused of something and it kind of goes through the emotions of that, of him not doing it, but he's innocent, but the whole town's after him kind of idea. Really interesting, really nuanced. Another Norwegian film that I watched, Worst Person in the World. It follows Renate Resve, the girl that's in back rooms, and it follows her through like a coming of age from like early 20s into like her late 20s and through like romantic ships. And I thought it was a really interesting way to tell a coming of age. And I just thought it was so expertly done. I gave it 5 stars. Broadcast news. It's like the inner workings of broadcasting, but working in between like a love triangle kind of situation. I just think all the actors are so charming in it. I really like the dialogue in the movie as well. And I just love like newsroom situations so much. Sound of Metal. I know you've talked about this a lot, Justin. I finally got to watching it. I really liked it. 4.5 out of 5 for me. Riz Ahmed was amazing in it. The sound design in it was really cool, like going in and out of the sound. But then at the end, it's like such a tragic story to where like he finally grows at the end, but he lost everything at the same time. But it's like, where does he go from here? But that's like the whole point of the story. It's like, you got to accept it where it is rather than being complacent from where, or trying to improve something that you can't, you know?
Yeah. That movie, I was basically saving it in case we ever did a week on like best sound design movies. Yeah, that's it right there. That shit was so good.
Yeah. No, it was, yeah. Surprised I just started watching it, but yeah, dude, such a good movie. Such a good movie. Awesome. So cool. We wanted to do like an exercise as well, since it is a 1 year, and kind of like cage what our likenesses are of movies, and then probably reattack it in another year of our personal top 10 films. So yeah, Justin, if you want to start off with your honorable mentions, so pretty much 15 through 11, just quickly.
I got a couple here. 12 Angry Men being one of them. I watched this before the podcast, but just one of my favorites of all time. A lot of people are going to hate me for this one. Oppenheimer, I think it's one of Nolan's best. And I know a lot of people don't feel that way, but it is for me. I'm putting Kill Bill here. I'm going to count as the whole bloody affair. Both of just, I don't see them as 2 separate movies, but that's just me. Parasite, and then Good Will Hunting as well. And then I also threw in The Singers, the short film that came out last year and shared an Oscar. Funny enough, I really enjoyed that.
Awesome. Yeah. I would, doing Kill Bill 1 and 2 is separate. I think including them is fine as like a total of 1, especially because he released it as a whole film now. So for my honorable mention, going 15 through 11, I have Nope, a movie by Jordan Peele. Me and you watched it in theaters together. Really enjoy that one. 14, Wind River, Taylor Sheridan. Really what got him on that Hell or High Water and Sicario. All 3 of those films kind of got him on the page, and why he's creating like every show that you see on CBS now. And Glorious Bastards, Tarantino film. He's one of my favorite directors. Number 12, Spotlight, somehow. And it's like thrilling, questioning, disbelief, and disheartening at the end of the day. Like the last like 5 minutes of that movie just makes you feel bad for everybody involved. And number 11, Prisoners. We did it on the podcast. It's dark, revealing, honest, and just tragic.
Yeah, it's good. Awesome. Mentions.
So yeah. So now we'll start for Justin's going to give his number 10, then I'll talk about it a little bit, and then I'll give my number 10, and then we'll keep going down each one, 9, 8, so far and so forth.
Yeah. So my number 10, one of my favorite movies of all time. It moved down my list a little. I don't think it did anything wrong. I think other movies just moved it up. But 1917, just amazing cinematography. I remember watching this for the first time. This really is one of the movies that got me into wanting to do this with you, got me into cinema. Just seeing the tracking shots, seeing how a movie could be edited so perfectly. Such an amazing movie, and a great story too. I mean, it's a really, really beautiful story and a tragic story, but yeah, just so well done.
Yeah. I haven't revisited that movie in such a long time. I feel like it definitely deserves a revisit for me, because I remember when I first saw it, I was just like, wow, this is so cool, because it looks like it's all just one take of a film, and really unique in a way of like making it a blockbuster movie, because there's definitely been one-track films before, just not necessarily in a blockbuster format that it was made in. Number 10 for me, Justin doesn't really like this movie, but I'm a big Batman guy, so The Dark Knight is my number 10. It's my favorite Nolan film. I think favorite, I think his best is Oppenheimer, but like this is a personal list. I just think it's iconic, thrilling. I mean, it's Batman, my favorite comic book character. I remember watching this when I was young and just enthralled about like the opening scene just engages you so much. Heath Ledger as the Joker is so iconic. And yeah, I just love The Dark Knight.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I like that it's a Nolan film. I like the film from Nolan's perspective. I'm just not a big fan of that Batman iteration. That's basically it. And it's not anything Christian Bale did or anything like that. Just I like a more crime detective Batman, which that's just preference.
Yeah.
My number 9, I have Whiplash. I love Whiplash so much. It holds a special place in my heart just from a place of music. Actually, I'm not going to talk about Whiplash. Everybody's seen it. This week, me and Madison, we actually went to a really nice jazz club at the island we're staying on, and they came out to Caravan, and I almost teared up. It was so cool.
Yeah, dude, I really like Whiplash too. It's a little bit lower on like my overall, but I have a feeling this isn't the first Damien Chazelle movie that we're going to see on your list. If people have been listening to the podcast, everyone knows what's coming.
Yeah,
Number 9 for me is Fargo. I think it's a funny crime drama that is like super serious in the plot, but then the dialogue is super funny just because of their accents as well. And yeah, it's just the crazy good dialogue in that film. I think this movie really made me realize how much I like dialogue in film itself.
yeah, this one was a close honorable mention for me. That was one that was teetering on and off my list. Yeah, I enjoyed watching that one on the podcast. I'm very happy you showed me that one.
Yeah.
Number 8, I have The Shining. Again, a lot of these movies are stuff that really made me realize what cinema could be. This is definitely one of. I was so amazed. I thought I was going to watch like a cheesy slasher movie, and just the story that came out of it and kind of the openness to the ending was just so amazing. And I was kind of infatuated by this movie, and I still am.
Yeah. That's another movie I have to rewatch because I rewatched when I first watched it. And I feel like watching it now, I'd have a different take on it just with our experience of being able to talk about it and understanding film a little bit better. But I just remember liking it a lot as well. Yeah, really cool film. Number 8 for me is Before Sunrise, Linklater film that we also did on the podcast. It's true romance, instant chemistry in a film, and just banter. Another crazy good dialogue film where it's nominated for a screenplay. Like such an original idea in a romance film, which sounds crazy to talk about when it's like, oh, it's just two people falling in love. But it's no, two people like literally talking all day, walking through this new city that neither of them know. Like it's crazy.
So you texted me this week and said that there was potentially one movie we'd both have in our top 10. Was
Yeah.
that it?
Yeah.
Okay, because Before Sunrise is my number 7.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like this movie too. I would honestly say this is probably one of my favorite dialogue movies. I know you said that about Fargo, but just that the whole movie is literally just them walking through a city and just talking. It relies so heavily on dialogue, and it was executed perfectly. I wouldn't change a single thing about the dialogue in this film, and it felt so real, and it felt so, how do you say, like you could relate to it.
Yeah.
That was an important thing for me in this movie.
Yeah, it's like everyday conversations that you would have that isn't, because sometimes in film you can get some people saying stuff to each other. You're like, would anybody actually say that to each other? This film, it's like, nah, like there's like those awkward pauses, looking away, like silence as well. Cool. Yeah. Number 7 for me is Emily, a new film that I've watched within the past 2 weeks. It's a French film, follows this girl that goes through like doing good deeds for everybody. And can she figure out how to do one for herself? It's fantastical. And the way I like to describe it, it feels like a hug of a movie. Like at the end of it, you just feel warmth in the world. And it was, right after the movie, I was just like literally in awe of like how cool it was. Like the way the cinematography was, just the way it was shot as well. Yeah, really cool.
Yeah, you talked about that a couple of weeks ago, and I have it on my list now. I definitely need to get to that one.
Yeah, I liked it so much.
My number 6 is going to be Blade Runner 2049. I remember watching this on the show. It might still be my highest rated one we've done on this show, besides one that we'll see later. But just an amazing movie. Not necessarily a fan of the Blade Runner franchise or anything with that story, but just so well shot. I think it has some of the best cinematography I've ever seen on this show. Obviously, when you're looking at Denny, he's just going to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, just so well done. Great story, and it's a contained story. Obviously, it's set in a bigger franchise, but you could kind of watch this on your own. I've never seen the original Blade Runner. So I watched this on my own and completely was just moved by the story.
Yeah, really iconic cinematography with that film. Going from one Denny film into another, my number six is Sicario. It's tension, it's real. I'm a sucker for like government workings of like trying to kill bad people. Just love that plot line of it. Yeah, Denny, this isn't the only movie from Denny that I have on this list. He's probably my favorite director working right now. I'm looking more forward to after the Dune films, even though the Dune films are made really well, it's just not my cup of tea. Pre-Dune, Denny is top tier. Just the stuff that he was producing was crazy.
Yeah, I need to watch the Dune movies, and I told you that we need to do that before Dune Part 3 comes out because I
Yeah,
haven't seen any of them yet.
just the genre to be straight up Dune.
Yeah. My number five, I have a newer movie, Hamnet. I think we were both super high on this one going into the
Yeah.
Oscars last year, and rightfully so. This movie was so shocking to me because it's not at all something I would be like, I need to go to the theaters and see this. Not interested in Shakespeare, not interested in period pieces, but I was just completely and utterly moved. The acting was insane in this movie, even the child acting. What a great story, great cinematography. I was going to get into this a little bit with Little Women, but that period is always made like super dark and the clothes are always super worn down and ugly. But this movie just did it in such a beautiful way and brought like really nice color to the cinematography as well.
Yeah. Hamnet last year, I loved it so much. I don't know if it's a movie I'll ever revisit because I remember just bawling my eyes out on a Thursday. And I don't know if I really want to reattack that feeling. But there's two movies from last year that I think would go up in my rankings on rewatches and over time, and that's gonna be Sinners and Hamnet for me, just because I remember loving both those films so much last year. All right, so number five for me is Heat. It's intense, two great performances from De Niro and Pacino going head to head, thrilling, loud. If you want to think about a loud movie and talk about the Dark Knight, Dark Knight gets so many inspiration from Heat itself, especially like the heist part of the films. Yeah, every time I watch Heat, I just turn the volume at 100 and I don't care about anyone around me because it's just like, you need to watch it. The shootout scene is insane every single time.
Yep. Number four, I have Almost Famous. This movie means a lot to me. I kind of grew up with my parents showing me about rock and roll, learning about rock and roll. I play guitar now, and this movie just kind of encapsulated all that. So that's why it really hits home with me. Along with that, it's a really great storyline and actually really delved out characters, which, could have been kind of tossed aside. But this is like my comfort movie. I'll just turn this on all the time just to relax and just watch. It's one of my favorites, and I think it always will be.
Another one we did on the podcast.
Yep.
So number four for me is actually one of the movies we're doing this week, Little Woman. It's exciting, coming of age, innocence in a film with some of it, but just like another movie at the end that you kind of feel like you got a hug in a way where it's just like so colorful and so like inspiring. And like the way the storytelling is so unique and to like an adapted screenplay to where like this is like kind of an old book. There's a lot of other films on it, but they just did it in such a unique way. Greta Gerwig in her second film doing that. It's just, we're going to talk about a lot of this film later, but I really like this and that's why I recommended it this week. So
yeah, pretty amazing movie that we're going to get into. But number three for me, I have Fantastic Mr. Fox. I love this movie. I made that well known when we did it here on the show. Just such a good comfort movie again. Really great story. It's an easy watch too. We talked about it. You can really dive into it, or you can just kind of watch it from like a kid's perspective, but also has a lot of really deep themes into it as well. I love the movie. I think the voice acting is amazing, and the kind of claymation style of animation is pretty amazing too to watch.
yeah, I really liked Fantastic Fox. I was a little surprised by it just because that kind of claymation, usually not a big fan of that. I haven't really like seeked that out, but really well done for that film. My number three is Arrival. Another Denny movie, emotional, the wonder of the unknown, super deep. That the Arrival and Hamnet have the same song to end the film that makes you just want to weep your eyes out at the thought of it. But it's like language is the communication of love, and I just love the idea of that as well. One of my favorite performances as well by Amy Adams.
Yeah, that was a great one. I'm happy I watched that one on the podcast as well. Number two, I don't think we've really talked about this movie a lot or Kubrick in general, but one of my favorites is 2001: A Space Odyssey. The story behind this for me is took a cinematography class at my community college, and I had to do 10-page paper on just the scene where Hal is talking and kind of turning, his innocence into being evil. That was really awesome for me to dive into that. And I love this movie forever for that because it really got me into realizing how much you could take from such a short clip and write a 10-page paper about it. It was pretty awesome. And I ended up going to see this when it re-released in theaters a couple years back. And they had like an intermission like they would back in the day and everything. It was pretty neat to see.
Oh, yeah, that is cool. Yeah, I definitely want to start going to more of those kind of things where they re-release stuff in theaters. So I feel like they dive into it as well. Like it's not just they show the movie, and also with those older movies, we never got the chance to see them in theaters. So it's just a different experience.
Yeah.
Number two for me, we never really talk about it, but we did do this director before on The Social Network. Is my number two. It's intense, tragic in a sense of a movie as well, where you can see he loses all his friends but gain that success. I think this is the best edited movie of all time. I just think somehow they made this story that seems so bland on paper about him creating a company into this like thrilling thing that like keeps you engaged. I've rewatched this film so many times just because I think it's so well done.
Yeah, no, definitely an amazing movie. I really like that movie as well. My number one, who am I kidding? It wasn't tough. It's La La Land. We knew this.
Yeah.
Yeah, two Damien Chazelle movies on my top 10, which is pretty interesting. I really like him as a director. Huge music fan, so I like how much he incorporates music in both this and Whiplash. Never thought I'd be a musical person, and this ended up being one of my favorite movies ever. I think the acting's amazing. I think the cinematography and use of color is perfect. Yeah, everybody already knows how I feel about this movie.
Yeah, it's pretty well known, but like both of our number one movies on because we've talked about them so much. With my number one being Django Unchained. We did this on the podcast as well. Revenge, but also fun dialogue. That's just part of like Tarantino as a whole. But in this film, I think it's on a 10 of like how fun the dialogue is, crazy performances, and then like very intense dialogue as well. So you got the fun, and then you got the turn of the intense. Like the moment DiCaprio turns it on, that's like the change of the film, and that's not even the end of it. Yeah, I love that film so much.
Cool, man. Cool. Any surprises
Yeah.
from my list that you were like, I'm shocked that's on there?
I think Almost Famous. I knew you liked it, but I didn't think you liked it that much. I think that was like the one surprise.
Yeah. I was debating putting Little Women on my list. I just felt like I just watched it, so I have to let it like cool down in my head a little bit. But
Yeah.
definitely there for me too, which we'll dive into here in a minute.
Yeah. I think I was a little surprised that I put Emily up that high already after only watching it one time.
I was shocked to hear that too.
But I have a feeling that and Before Sunrise may go up over time just because I've only watched both of them once and I just like them so much. Yeah, I recommend anybody out there to check out Emily if you like those kind of like feel good movies that makes you like believe in humanity again, you know?
Yeah.
Awesome. So yeah, this week is family stories. Is the genre of the week that we wanted to do. It's really a way for me to like go after these two films that I personally really love. And because I knew Justin would like both of these films as well. And I've always wanted him to reach out to do it. But also I like this genre in general. I think any movie about family can be done in such like a nuanced and like cool way. Where you dive into each character's like deeper thoughts. And we've done multiple films during this past year of like different family stories. But I really want to deep dive into these two specifically, with them being Little Woman and Minari. Justin, do you want to start with Minari?
Yeah. So Minari, I hadn't heard of it actually up until this week, but I did do a little reading before watching, and how much it was well praised for this story that it put together. So the plot is kind of semi-autobiographical. The director kind of attributes this story to kind of his upbringing, living on a farm being a Korean immigrant family. So it follows a South Korean immigrant family who relocates from California to a kind of a rural Arkansas farm. The father, Jacob, is chasing after the American dream by attempting to grow, his Korean produce for Dallas vendors, just because, they wouldn't have it in that area with so many Korean immigrants coming in. And meanwhile, his wife, Monica, kind of struggles to adapt, creating a very severe strain on their marriage. And also obviously following David and Anne, who were the kids, and kind of them trying to understand their families' relationships and everything that's going on. So for the overall plot, I gave it a 9.
Yeah, I thought it was such an interesting way to tell a story with following the Yi family. He stripes like the idea of a American dream. I mean, he has like the farmer hat on. He has like the cigarettes in his pocket shirt. He's working hard, and he's like, we don't pay people to do something that we can do if we're just smart enough. He ends up by the end of the movie being like, wait a second, maybe people know what they're doing actually. Trust the locals. I think another interesting like side plot to it was Patton's character trying to like relieve or revive like his relationship with God through helping the Yi family. Because he was a veteran of the Korean War, which is slightly mentioned at the beginning. And if you don't listen to that part, you're kind of confused. Why does he care so much? And it's because he's trying to like relieve of all the horrors that happened in the Korean War for him.
Yeah, a lot of different subplots going on here, and it kind of brings the question, what makes family? Because he was, by the end of the movie, he was clearly like another family member, an extension of a family member to them. But then I really enjoyed the dynamic between David and his grandma as well. Just kind of the separation of generation was really cool to see.
Yeah. That's another big point where they bring in the grandma to help with the kids as they're pursuing this stuff, and the guys are working overtime. And then at first she's like not the best grandma. They're like, she isn't like a normal grandma. And then she kind of develops into it, but then she gets sick, but then without, yeah. And then at the end, like she like messes up big time, kind of ruins all the produce, but then they're like, you're still our family. Like just because you mess up doesn't mean we're going to give up on you when you're at your lowest kind of thing. And just kind of reminds you like what family really means.
Yeah. And diving into that with the characters, obviously I gave it an 8. I think pretty much every character was really fleshed out and drawn out. I know Anne was kind of more of a side character, the older little girl. So she didn't have a huge plot line, but every other character was really fleshed out, and every relationship was really fleshed out, right? You had Jacob and the grandma. You could tell they had a little bit of not beef, but I'd say they didn't get along too well. David and the grandma were kind of butting heads over, what it means to be a grandma, what it means to be a good grandson, be a strong boy. Monica and her mom, that relationship was really fleshed out in the beginning too. Really good just character development overall, and kind of seeing these characters grow into the struggles of the American dream.
Yeah, another side plot into it is like David's like heart problem throughout the film. And right when the mother is trying to leave, like she's like, all right, we're going to move back and you get to stay out here, to Stephen Yeun's character. It turns out that like the heart's healing, and they're like, you got to keep doing what you're doing. And that pretty much what decides for them to stay. And it kind of leads right into like the burning produce and them save it. But like, you don't understand the depth of that if the characters aren't fleshed out in the first place for you to really care about the emotional context of what the fire actually means for the family.
Yeah. Cinematography, I gave it a 9. It uses very intimate and kind of naturalistic framing. A lot of harsh lighting, which I really liked. It just made it feel really raw and showed the beauty of living on this farm. And I think it did an amazing job at just framing every scene really well. The conversations were done really well. I never felt like it was the camera was in a bad place. Even, watching subtitles for a good portion of the movie, it never was like I didn't understand what was going on because a character was talking off screen or anything like that.
Yeah. I really loved it because it made Arkansas look just so beautiful.
Yeah.
As a state, idealistic. And then like that, but the inside of the trailer and inside of other buildings were like more dark and gloomy, and then making the nature look so fantastical. And then even the Minari one being mystical, like where they were growing it on the river stream, just saw the cinematography. It was so cool. Really beautiful.
Dialogue, I gave it an 8. I think it was really well done. My favorite line was from Grandma Sunja. She said, getting hurt is a part of growing up, which I thought was a really good turning point in the film, obviously for David's character. You could feel in the beginning, everyone kind of looked down on him like he was weak, but she really saw him as like a strong kid and everything that he did. But also not long after this, we realized his heart's healing, and that kind of turn in the family's head of their view about David was really cool to see.
Yeah. Real family dialogue throughout. Obviously, you have the Korean family part of it, to where like just the Asian culture, they usually hit their kids a little bit more, or like I would say, but even that's turned into kind of a joke because the grandma's like, it isn't, we aren't in Asia anymore kind of thing, idea to it, where she's like, smart kid, smart kid. I like the banter between them, but then even like the arguments between the father and mother doesn't seem to be like out of spite or abusive. It's just them going through a hard situation, but you could tell there's still love there, which is like
Yeah.
really important, I think, to kind of distinct in that kind of setting.
Yeah, I mean, even at the end of the movie, like they were ready to walk out on each other, and then, the fire and everything happens, and they're in there screaming at each other to try to find one another. You clearly know that there's love there. Got to bring up the line too. David really hit grandma with the "How'd my pee taste?" That was so funny. It was actually, we'll get into it with acting, but actually, I'm just going to do acting. The child acting in this was actually really amazing. David was so good, but Stephen Wen and Yoon Jung were both nominated for Best Actor and Best Actress, respectively, as well, which is really cool. But yeah, amazing child acting in this as well. Everything was really great.
Yeah, the child acting spectacular, but like the grandma, Yoon Jung Jung, she was great. She was absolutely outstanding. I think she won the best supporting actress that year for her performance. Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
well,
overall, yeah,
the kind of forced perspective of like you being in the child's brain for that scene, because she was fine. She was talking to David the night before, and then he woke up, thought he peed the bed, but she peed the bed, and
yeah,
she was barely moving. And then all of a sudden it cuts to a couple scenes later where like obviously she's been like had a stroke. You could tell she had a stroke. But
yeah,
as a kid, as a young kid, you would never see the in between, right? Her getting transported to the hospital,
yep,
seeing what's going on. So that forced perspective was really amazing for us as the audience to kind of be like, wow, what is going on with grandma? We care about her so much because they've developed her. And then now this terrible thing happens and we don't really know what's going on, just like a kid would.
yep. That's a really good point to bring up. Yeah,
Yeah, and then well, yeah, I kind of got off topic, but just her acting switch too. You could tell there was clearly something wrong with her after that, and that was just
yeah,
amazing to watch. To be able to pull that off as an actor was nuts.
yeah, yeah. It was so well done, and then even at the end of the film, like the emotional context to be like, I can't control my body right now, but I just like ruined the family. And then it's like so emotional in the way that she's able to play it off also well. It's like, dude, like that's 10 out of 10 acting.
Yeah, getting into set design again, we kind of talked about it with the cinematography, but it was a really cool set. It was led by Young Ok Lee, and it just focusing on that hyper realistic, emotionally grounded details that Arkansas farm kind of look. It was really well done. Everything from even the costume design, I think, really fit that 1980s time period really well. Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, the trailer park felt really small, and then the land felt ever ending. Like you never really knew where you are within the farm because it's just like felt like you could go where you wanted out there, while in the
Yeah.
trailer home you knew where each room was, which is just like kind of like part of the American dream, right? Is to like grow your own land and be on your own open free, right?
Yep. And then directed by Lee Isaac Chung, is directed, it's obviously an autobiographical story that we were talking about of him growing up in his rural Arkansas farm and kind of drawing on his childhood memories. Just a very neat story to do. I don't know if he's done anything else. I don't know of any other movies. I'm not sure if you do. I can look it up real quick.
I'm pretty sure he did because a lot what I read was that he wanted to build up like a filmography before going after this
Okay.
because he thinks that this was more like a riskier kind of thing because he's more of a Korean based where just stuff based in Korea before, as far as I know. But yeah, pretty much he said he wanted to build up his filmography before doing a personal piece because this was a very personal piece for him.
Did Twisters. Yeah, cool.
Interesting. Not a bad movie at all. Just
I
quite a
didn't
different switch up.
watch it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not a bad movie.
Okay, I'll check it out. Soundtrack, I gave it a 10. Needle drop of the week for Justin, Jacob in the Stone. Such a raw sound to kind of embody the emotion of the movie. Obviously, this song I realized is used all over TikTok now. Had no idea that this is what it was from, but such a great song. And I love when movies kind of reuse songs throughout the movie in different styles. And this
Yeah.
movie did it perfectly.
Yeah, if I could give it 20 out of 10, I would because the sound is amazing in it. And I also heard it all over like social media before. And then when I first watched this, I was like, this is what it comes from, this movie. And I was like, dude, this is beautiful within it. I wish social media didn't like overuse this thing in like
Yeah.
bullshit circumstances.
Yeah, I'm actually mad I watched it on vacation on tiny 20-inch TV up on a
Yeah.
wall. Getting into the theme, I gave it a 10. So much to dive into here between the different relationships. Obviously, we have the American dream and its cost, as well as the family dynamics involved and marital strain. I thought it was cool using Minari as the title of the film. Obviously, it serves as a metaphor for resilience. I kind of read about the plant. It's very resilient, can be grown pretty much anywhere under the right conditions, just kind of like the family, right? They're kind of misplaced in a place that they typically wouldn't be, but they're chasing after this dream. And although it might not seem like it'll work out, they know that they can thrive with their love of each other and their bonds and kind of using that to fuel make the right conditions.
Yeah, the themes American Dream is super drawn out into it. I'm pretty sure when we did the July 4th draft, I drafted this in American Dream. I really like that standpoint from it. The family dynamics, never giving up on family, seeing like real, true, authentic love for it as well. The innocence view that the director puts you into a kid's lens. Yeah, just so many deeper themes in this movie that I really love.
And then finally getting into the editing, I think it was edited perfectly too. Did a little reading about it. They actually, the editor and the director collaborated on Skywalker Ranch to kind of help shape the story and what they wanted to tell the audience about the story. So both Yoon and Chung, the director and editor, kind of both brought their own lived experiences of their early childhood living in America to kind of balance the tension, humor, and the tenderness of the overall family dynamics, which I thought was really neat.
Yeah. Yeah. No point in this film did I feel like it was too long or too short. I feel like this was
Hmm.
like exactly the right amount of like scenes put into the film. There's nothing I would take out or add. It was just, yeah, perfectly edited. And like even the cut shots, like you talked about before, where it seems maybe a little too quick of a turn, but again, it's through the kid's lens where they won't see the behind the scenes of her actually at the hospital. But cutting quickly in between that is quite a choice from the director, but also an editor.
Yeah. Yeah. So overall, I gave this movie an 8.8 out of 10 or an 88. I really loved it. I wouldn't change much about this movie. Just a really great overall contained story with great dialogue, great cinematography, great acting all around.
Yeah, I gave it a pretty high score, a 96 out of 100, 9.6 out of 10. And this is a 5-star film for me, almost perfect. I remember I first watched it like 2 years ago now
Mhm.
at an Austin, Texas hotel. And I was just amazed by it. And then revisiting it now, I was like, yeah, it was just as good as I remembered. Like such a unique take on like a story like this, but also just like so beautiful a movie. Awesome. So the next one being Little Woman. So this is like an older book set in like set during Civil War in colonial America or Massachusetts. And it follows like the March family or the March girls as they grow up, specifically through the lens of Joe March and her sister Meg, Amy, and Beth as they come up in age, but then it cuts through different times of it. So right at the beginning of the film, you know that like somebody's died in the family. You figure it out before like it really happens at the end of the film. But for me, like the timing of it all was never confusing for me. I could keep track of it. It's based on the novel. Everything I read about it was this was a very unique way to look at it as well and to cut the film. Just great storyline. I'm a sucker for a coming of age film, so I really like this. And I think we'll get into characters a little later, but like I just really like the dynamics throughout the movie between all the sisters.
Yeah, the plot was pretty amazing. I thought that was the first thing that kind of caught my eye was the nonlinear storytelling, but it was never hard to follow. That's something you could easily mess up, but it was always done really well. And maybe it was because the main character's hair was always kind of cut differently, so you knew you were jumping periods. But little things like that, they made perfectly just so you knew exactly what was going on to the plot the whole time. You were never lost.
Yeah. Yeah, I read some stuff that people were like, well, they never really age. And it's like, this is like a 5-year span. Like, these
Yeah,
girls aren't going to age crazily, like in 5 years. Like, yeah, they're going to have different fashion choices, and they do in the film. That's even a more nuanced thing. Like, you can see Amy Florence Pugh, like, she gets more like fancy with like her dresses as the time passes, where she kind of goes from this tomboy into this more like ladylike woman. While Joe kind of like becomes more independent in the way she dresses. And then Meg at first is like more of like the ladylike look to her. But as she grows and falls in love with a poorer man, she doesn't dress as fantastical to it. That's actually like a whole storyline to it. There's
Hmm.
just so much depth to each character. Going right into characters, I gave it, or plot, I gave it 10. Characters, I also gave it 10. Joe is an independent, that she's an aspiring writer. Amy is the youngest, but likes to, like she's really artistic, but also kind of jealous of Joe, not just because of Lori, which is connected to played by Timothy Chalamet, who is in love with Joe, but Amy loves Lori. And then Beth plays the piano really well. And then Meg is the smartest of the family, is kind of told, but falls in love with a poorer guy. And that's like her main storyline of like falling in love with somebody. But yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the characters were all super fleshed out and well done. I mean, I don't know how they accomplished fleshing out all the characters in such a short amount of time. Even the mom, the dad was fleshed out. The Lori's dad was fleshed out. It was like it was pretty amazing to see. Like I cared about every single one of the characters involved and their immediate family, yes, but then Lori's family as well. Kind of that connective neighborhood family
Yeah.
was just really cool to see.
Yeah. And that's why, like, the decision at the end of the movie, like, again, based off like a real life novel of like having like a school with all of them involved, even feels more important because you're like, oh, wow, they all get to do what they like to do, all at this institute because of Joe, which I think is so cool. To like the way to end a film. Cinematography, I gave out a 10. It's like a homey feeling to the movie, the way it was shot, like so like cozy, a third person point of view, like a fantastical way to film. And like we talked before, or the way you mentioned it, where sometimes in colonial America, they make it look really dark. I think about Lincoln, a super gritty film looking, while this one is bright and colorful. And this is during the Civil War. So I just really think it's cool.
Yeah, I mean, even we just watched that Mel Gibson one. That
Yeah.
was more revolutionary, but super dark. Like every movie needs to take notes from this movie on how to color grade because it was so beautifully shot. Even in its darkest moments, there was, dull scenes that showed the darkness in the scene, and then it would go back to a really colorful shot about love or it's one of their, interconnected kind of stories would be kind of emphasized by the scene around it, and I think that was so well done.
Yeah, the whole Christmas scene is like such a memorable scene for me. I like that scene so much, and that's why I think of this movie as a Christmas movie, even though there's only like one scene that is, just because I like that scene so much, the way it's shot and it's put together. The dialogue, I gave it 9 out of 10. It's old English, but it delivers great. Sometimes with old English, you get confused of what they're trying to say with it, but it's really well done. The scenes between the sisters are just like so good with like the banter back and forth at each other. They made them live with each other for like a couple weeks before filming so they could get that like sisterly, like living with each other feel to it and like actually get to know each other more. And you can really feel it within the.
You could definitely feel it. It felt so real. Even like you talked about the old English dialogue, it never felt forced. It just felt like it was part of their daily conversation. But yeah, you could tell they definitely had a bond with each other. Every time they'd see each other, their faces would light up, and you can't really just act that. You have to actually feel it, which was really neat to see.
Yeah. And the thing is, talking to the acting, which I give a 10 out of 10, like their delivery of all of those lines are just like so good. And I mean, you look at the actresses, it's a stacked cast. I mean,
Hmm.
you have like Meryl Streep and Laura Dern as like the mother and grandmother, or the aunt, I mean, but then you have Florence Pugh, Saoirse Ronan, and Emma Watson. It's just, they're all going to be great together. And Emma Watson was replaced Emma Stone. So originally Emma Stone was supposed to be in this, but she couldn't film it. I think it's a different film. I just don't know how Emma Stone plays that specific character. I just feel like
Yeah.
it would be a little bit different. I think Emma Watson gives off like a more nuanced feel of being like that kind of character, if that makes sense.
Yeah, she gave off more like older sister vibes, where I feel
Yeah.
like Emma Stone would give more like Florence Pugh's character's vibe.
Yeah. Yeah. I could see Emma Stone doing Florence Pugh or Joe, like the head character,
Mm,
either one of them, more than
yeah,
I could see with Meg. So, yeah. And I already talked about them living together. It's just the acting's so good.
exactly.
The score, I gave a 10 out of 10. For this movie, it's just like such a calming score that fits it so well, and it doesn't overwhelm the film. That film that heavily relies on dialogue and cutting between scenes, you don't want a score that kind of overtakes that, and it just fits into it perfectly.
Yeah, it was perfect in the scenes it needed to be in. It was there, the deep emotional scenes, and then everything else, it let the dialogue do the work. So I completely agree with you. I think it was perfect for the film.
Yeah, there was I think another reason why I think it's a Christmas theme, because I could hear this music like on Christmas Day in my ears. Like, kind of feeling to it. The set design, I gave it 10 out of 10 as well. The costume design, they won an Oscar that year for it, and it makes complete sense.
Mhm.
It's really cozy and cozy feeling to it, but the March House was built from scratch in Concord. So Greta got it built for a couple months before that, and I think that's a really cool thing too.
Yeah, one of the things I really took away from it was the not necessarily the accuracy, but the difference between the poor people's house that they would take food to help, their house being kind of like the lower middle class house, as well as Lori's family's house being a very upper class and drawn out house. Just little idiosyncrasies like paintings and wall decoration, furniture. You could really tell the difference between the three, and I think it was done perfectly to give us the feeling of where we were at that in that scene.
Yeah. And to show they were kind of the middle class type of family
Hmm.
that just lived next to both different types. So they were quite literally in the middle of everything. Directing, I gave it a 10 out of 10. This is my favorite Gerwig film by far. The fact that you make this with your second film is insane to me. I think it's so well done. I've seen Lady Bird. Lady Bird's really good. And so I think Barbie's also really good. But this movie is just on a different type of level for me. I just really appreciate everything that she did with this film and her take on the novel itself.
Yeah, I haven't seen Lady Bird, but I had seen Barbie before watching this, and I now completely get why somebody was like, yeah, just give her anything doing relating to womanhood and sisterhood. Like, she's gonna cook.
Yeah. hmm Yeah, pretty much. That's why the Narnia film that she's working on, people were like, "Oh, it's with Netflix." All this, as long as she's at the head of it, I'm not that concerned. Narnia has a lot of
Yeah.
feeling. Looks very similar to how this movie looks, and I'm like, dude, I think Narnia, she could hit it out of the park.
Yeah.
Really could. Editing, I gave it 9 out of 10. The time lapsing and jumping around was done so well, and that's really on the editor itself, and as well as working with the director of where do you want to cut it to, and where does it make sense to, because you can confuse the audience really easily when you do it like that.
Yeah, I was never once lost. And I didn't think of it never came up to me until I was sitting here doing my notes today. I was like, damn, you could have easily gotten so lost in between the scenes cutting, but I always knew exactly where we were somehow. And it maybe was, I'd have to rewatch it, but maybe it was some of the first lines of dialogue in each scene kind of established it. Or
Yeah.
I don't know what. Thinking back, I can't even think to a time where I was like, "This, we're switching periods now." It just automatically clicked in my head. They did that
Yeah.
good of a job.
Yeah, I don't like comparing directors all that much because they have different takes on it, but I'm comparing it to Memento, where a lot of time jumping in that film, where you get really confused in that film without narration as well. And you see some other time jump films that I know of that where they use narration as that bridge piece, and somehow this builds it into the dialogue to be able to do that bridge, which I think is really, really well done by the screenplay.
Yeah.
Themes, I gave it 10 out of 10. Again, I really like coming of age films. It's finding your passion and as well as family within it all. And in the day, love. Because one big change in this compared to the novel, apparently, is that Joe does end up with somebody. And that's kind of a plot point at the end of the film. It's no, she needs to end up with somebody. The editor says that to him. And that's Greta Gerwig's take on it is that yes, she does end up with somebody.
Yeah. Yeah. I think just the ideas behind, female autonomy and kind of growing up as kids with your siblings and transitioning into adulthood was just so well done. But also the themes of kind of all of them being artists and trying to grow in that passion was just well done. And I think the acting had such a huge part in that.
Yeah, especially in a world where women weren't definitely artistically liberated to be able to express themselves all that much, but then they grew up in a family in an area that let them be that was also kind of powerful.
Yeah, super well done.
At the end of the day, I gave it a 98 out of 100 or 9.8 out of 10. We went over it earlier. It's my fourth favorite film of all time for a reason. I really like this film.
Yeah, I'm not far behind you. I gave it a 9.3 out of 10 or a 93. Just an amazing movie that I never would have in a million years thought I'd be interested in, but just so well done in every aspect. Yeah, not many complaints here.
Yeah, I've watched it for the first time 2.5 years ago, and I think I've rewatched it now 6 times since then, just to say how much I like it. I think it's super rewatchable too. Yeah, awesome. Cool. So yeah, that summarizes up our family stories. Thought, yeah, I really like this genre. I have a feeling this is the last time we're going to ever touch a family story of any type in any other upcoming episodes that we do.
Yeah.
Awesome. So the draft that we're going to do today is going to be of all the movies that or the selection will be out of all the movies that we have done on the podcast before. So 103 movies to select from. The categories are going to be Rotten Tomatoes, over 90%, the critics, the critical audience, and then the favorite performance. So you call out the performance from one of the actors that we did, a favorite director with their movie. So you call out the director, one of the directors that we've done with the movie, favorite genre. So one of the genre pieces that we've done. And then Oscar nominated, one of the stage holds that we usually always do. And then as well as movie that surprised you, that you didn't think that you would like as much as you did. And then, of course, wow.
Yep. I just spun a wheel, and Tyler, you were going first.
Okay, going first. This is a little tough. So I'm going to
Don't
go with
know.
favorite genre. What was that?
No. I was just gonna say I don't know how much we'll have intersecting. Like we might be really close on a lot of these, or we might just be way off. I mean, we have 103 movies to choose from, so
Yeah, there's a lot of choices. There's a lot of choices, and based off of like what our top 10 was, I have a feeling we won't have as many intersecting.
yeah.
That's why I'm going after this one of these first. And I'm going after with favorite genre with the movie. And it's literally the one that we just did with family stories and being a little woman as my selection for family story.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
I might go ahead and wait on my genre then. I think I'm gonna go ahead and take my favorite director, and I'm taking him just because he had two in the top 10. I'm gonna take Damien Chazelle, which might seem early, but I think
Yeah.
it's just meant for me. And I'm gonna take La
Okay.
La Land too for obviously.
Yeah.
And I guess I got one more here. Let me see. I'm gonna go ahead and take movie I was surprised by. And I got to give credit where credit's due because Madison actually picked this movie the week that we did it. And she still tells me, like, I'm so goated for picking that movie for you guys to watch. I'm going to take The Holdovers when we did our Christmas movie.
Yeah.
That one really surprised me. I hadn't never heard anything about it. And so coming from Madison, I was like, not sure what to expect here. But yeah,
Yeah.
great movie. I really enjoyed that one.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I think where I want to go with this, I'm going to do favorite performance. Yeah, I'm going to do favorite performance, and it's going to be Amy Adams in Arrival. We did Amy Adams on the podcast specifically, so I think it'd be a cool call out to do her performance in that movie. Yeah, such a unique performance. It's crazy that she wasn't nominated for an Oscar that year, but she was
That
for The
is nuts.
Master. Like, what are we doing out here? It's getting
We
absolutely
watched The
ridiculous out
Master,
here.
and I just remember texting you and being like, "Dude, she might have 15 minutes of screen time in this movie."
Yeah, that's insane. And yeah, it's all right. I'm gonna take this movie because I have a feeling that you want to take it, and I'm going to take Before Sunrise, but an Oscar nominated. Yeah,
Okay.
it's nominated for original screenplay. I know it's in your top 10, so I was like, this is the one movie that I think we have overlapping, and I wanted to be on my team. I really like this movie.
Yeah. I could probably wait on this one, but I'm just going to get it out of the way. I'm going to take my favorite performance as Kate Hudson as Penny Lane in Almost Famous. I think it was such a well done character and so well drawn out throughout the film. Yeah, I just love that movie. I had to get it on here somewhere.
Yeah,
And then I think I'm going to go ahead and take favorite genre, and I'm going to take sci-fi, and I'm going to take Blade Runner 2049.
cool. I think for now, favorite director with the movie, take my number one and Tarantino with Django.
Yeah.
We did part one and part two with him, so there's a lot of films to pick for him, but Django's my favorite of his. Cool. Rotten Tomatoes over 90. At this point, just got to go with whatever's higher on my personal list that we've done. That would be Sicario for over 90. Really like Sicario. Got two Denny movies on. Not surprised, but yeah.
Yeah, cool. Let me see here. I think I'm gonna go ahead and take my Rotten Tomatoes over 92, and this one was also up in debate for my movie I was surprised by. I'm gonna take The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
Okay.
I was shocked how much I liked this, especially being such an older film, but just the way it was done really like still holds up today. The cinematography, the sound design, soundtrack. I really liked every part of that movie, and it was really good. I need to finish the trilogy. I just haven't had the chance to yet.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And then Oscar nomination.
Wait,
There's
didn't you
so
just
much
pick
we
two?
could do. No. I just picked the good, the bad, the ugly.
Okay.
Wait, how many do you have left? I have 2 categories left.
Yeah, so do I. I think that's right then.
Okay, yeah. And then actually, I'm gonna wait on Oscar nomination. My wild card, I'm gonna take Akira. I actually kind of forgot about this. I don't think it would be in my top 10, but it'd definitely be an honorable mention. I love that movie. It's so good.
Awesome. Yeah, for me, movie that surprised me. I don't know if this affects your list at all because I have a feeling I already know what movie that's about to come up. But Fantastic Mr. Fox for Claymore. Just I did not expect to like this film. I'm coming into it, but I did a lot. I really like Fantastic Mr. Fox. And then for my wild card, yeah, I'm gonna go with another thing that's gonna be top at my list, and that's gonna be Fargo. Really like Fargo. Already talked about it. Yeah.
Cool. So yours is all done, right? I have one more pick. Okay. So for Oscar nomination, shoot, there's so much we could do here, but I think I'm gonna go with one of my favorites that we did early on. I'm gonna take The Usual Suspects.
Okay.
A little bit different out there, but I just remember how much I loved watching this movie, and it was really enjoyable and fun.
Yeah. Man, I thought for sure you would take like one of the Tarantino films.
Yeah, he wasn't as high up for me. I was thinking about Kill Bill, but yeah, I want to do
Yeah,
something
like the
different for the draft.
true.
Cool. You want to read through your team?
Yeah. So my Rotten Tomatoes over 90 was Sicario. Favorite performance, Amy Adams in Arrival. Favorite director, Tarantino with Django. Favorite genre, family stories with Little Woman. Oscar nominated Before Sunrise for original screenplay. Movie that surprised me, Fantastic Mr. Fox. And then wild card, Fargo.
Cool. Yeah. My Rotten Tomatoes over 90 was The Good, the Bad, the Ugly. My favorite performance was Kate Hudson as Penny Lane in Almost Famous. Favorite director was Damien Chazelle with La La Land. Oscar nomination was The Usual Suspects. Favorite genre was sci-fi, and I took Blade Runner 2049. And then movie I was surprised by was The Holdovers, and then wild card was Akira.
Nice.
Pretty good list.
Yeah, awesome. Some honorable mentions for at least out throughout for performance wise was Daniel Day-Lewis and There'll Be Blood, McDormand and Fargo, Matt Damon and Talented Mr. Ripley, and then Gyllenhaal and Prisoners that we've done.
Yeah, one of my favorite performances too was, dude, I can't think of his first name, Affleck in Manchester by the Sea.
Yeah, we didn't do that on the podcast.
Didn't do that on the podcast. I don't know why I had that here.
Yeah.
Good performance though. And also
still good performance.
Matthew McConaughey in Dallas Buyers Club.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm surprised no Emma Stone mentioned, honestly, or Ryan Gosling.
I had La La Land.
Yeah, but for performance wise, you didn't like call it out.
That's fair.
But yeah, cool. Well, thank you all for listening for this past year, or if you're a first time listener, welcome to our podcast. I think within this next year, we're also going to be a little bit more interactive with our social media, like throwing out polls, Q&A, different type of movie going experiences that we're going to be doing. I'm currently working on a personal screenplay or two. That is a personal project for me that I just want to keep updated through the podcast as well.
Cool. Yeah, thank you guys for watching. We really appreciate it. Love doing the show with you, Tyler. I'm excited for what we have to come.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you all for listening. See you next week.
See ya.